Hi there, I welcome you all. And today we'll talk about simple harmonic motion from the point of view of your understanding. And we'll also give a glimpse of how this beautiful piece of mathematics and physics is just the beginning of a very large picture of our whole universe. Let's understand what is a harmonic motion. Before harmonic motion, I want to talk about oscillations. When the some motion repeats its motion again and again, and harmonic motion is one such special case. Why we are interested in oscillations? Because we see them in our real world everywhere. We see the moon revolving around Earth is a same oscillatory motion. We see it here on the pendulum. We see on the suns. We see these type of motions everywhere, from our simple machines to cars to just quads in just our watches where we have them. Here I want to discuss about the most basic mathematics of simple harmonic motion, and this is going to be the ultimate revision of our simple harmonic motion. So let's get started. So just to define what is a simple harmonic motion, I will use a equation to define what it is and later explain why it is the definition. When we have any force which is proportional to the displacement from its mean position, and here proportionality constant is a negative, so it just means it's our initial position, there will be restoration force, and that magnitude of that restoration force will increase as it move away from the its mean position. So this is just the definition. But why it is definition, why only linear proportionality, why not x square and those things? For that we'll see its mathematics and build some formulas for its displacement, its velocity, its acceleration, and time period, and so on. So, as starting from this definition, or I would like to say, just let's see what type of motion this initial equation gives. Let's start from there, and later on when we get some beautiful result, then we will call it definition. For now, just it's our hit and try method, like which type of equation gives which type of motion, and why only this type of motion is so much important in our real life, and it is taught at the starting of every physics course. Let's see. So for force we can write m dv by dt. I just simplified this equation a little bit, and now what I'm going to do is, you should not do in your mathematics class or in front of your maths major friends, but in physics we can do, because this stuff is not very rigorous, but it do the job. I'm multiplying and dividing it by dx. Now what I am getting is dx by dt, which gives v, and I will shift this dx there. So I am writing here mv dv is equal to minus, okay, so, it was x, because from m we are representing mass, so for x we are representing displacement, kx dx. This simple equation we can integrate both sides, and that is we are going to do here. After integrating, I get here mv square by 2 is equal to minus kx square by 2 and a proportionality constant. Because our picture very simple, and we are assuming this was our harmonic motion, we can find out this proportionality constant very easily. For that, what we need, take an example of spring system. We know it is governed by this equation, by the Hooke's law, F is equal to minus kx. And from our real world experience, we can use real world experience data in our mathematics, in at least in physics, which normally my students do not prefer to do, but we can do here. So my real world experience data is telling me when its displacement is uh, when its displacement is maximum, or when it is at the last point of the its motion, its velocity goes to 0. So when I can put this data here, when my velocity goes to 0, my displacement goes to max, and that for max I am using A, which is the maximum displacement of our spring system. So our with little bit of reshuffling, our proportionality constant come in this form, k is square by 2. Let's put it here. Now what I will do is simplify this and find the exact relationship between the velocity and the position from mean position and the velocity of the particle in simple harmonic motion, and there I will simply get v is equal to under root k over m into a square minus x square under root. So we get here a very simple form, but this thing looks little bit complicated. Let's just give this, because both are constant, our mass in our specific system and this proportionality constant which we are taking here are constant. So I can call them any other constant. Let's replace it by W, and we'll later see this W has a very important consequences when we move ahead. So again I will write this velocity as dx by dt is equal to omega t square minus x square under root. Again I will reshuffle these both, and again I will do integration. From there what I am getting is a square minus x square under root dx is equal to omega dt. We'll use this space now. If you see this integration, its first part is a little bit hard to derive, but we know the result from mathematics that it's just sine inverse x over a, and integration on second side is the simplest as it can be, omega t plus some other integration constant. And with little bit of reshuffling, again I get x as a function of sine omega t plus phi, where omega was under root k over m, or k over m is equal to omega square. Both things are the same. So now I get a beautiful relation between its position from mean position, displacement from mean position with respect to time. And what does this phi represent? It's represent from where at t is equal to 0, where was our initial position, or in other words, from where we started looking this picture. As I get here x as a function of t, it's become obvious to find velocity as a function of v, which is just the first derivative, which is a omega cos omega t plus phi. And similarly, acceleration is again a one more time derivative with this time with negative sign of sine omega t plus phi. Now we are starting to see why this motion was so important. Because it's the motion is function of sine wave, so does the velocity, so does the acceleration. It's the simplest possible oscillatory behavior we can see, and it's all governed by this very simple equation. Here we have done calculation for the mean position, we done calculation for the velocity, for the acceleration. Here just two calculations left. Then we will take off today. First is the time period. So let's get rid of this initial calculation. As our x is a function of time, so what is the time period of sine? Sine time period is just 2 pi, and we are given here some its function as a function of omega t. So what is the value of t at which our oscillation completes? Just divided by that function, 2 pi divided by omega. And omega we know from our previous calculation was just under root k over m. And so this is our just time period. Last thing is we will talk about energies, and so it's our time period, where m is the mass of our system and k is proportionality constant that we will see from the, we can take out from the what system we are talking about. So the last topic which we want to revise here is the energy. Basically we know about two types of energy. First one is kinetic energy, second one is potential energy. Kinetic energy just is simple, just half mv square. Here I will put v, I get half m a square omega square cos square omega t plus phi. It's just simple kinetic energy. Second energy we know about is potential energy, which is in this case is half kx square. We will derive that in any other video, but let's simply use the result is half kx square. Well, it's not very hard to derive if you know the equation. It's just two-step work, and I think it will be nice if you just do some little bit math and find why this is the equation of kinetic energy. You just need one step of integration. Anyway, let's use the result, which gives half k a square sine omega t plus phi square. So this is our kinetic energy. This was our potential, and this is our kinetic energy. This was our potential energy, and we'll sign off for today. See you again.